Good morning, children. Welcome to class 8 physics class. So in today's class, we are going to start a next chapter, that is friction. Understand? So in a day-to-day life, we used to heard this word commonly everywhere. Understanding? Always we can say that somebody is pulling me, something is always in our daily activity. Suppose when the ball is rolling, we can see that without anybody's external force, automatically ball after rolling some distance, it will comes to rust. Like that, if you'll even throw some stone, it will never continuously move. After some time, it will falls somewhere. Like that, everywhere. Is it cut or not? So like that, here everywhere, something is behind. How they will comes to rust, even though if you'll throw, if you'll apply a force because of friction. I will explain you clearly what is friction. Just I'm saying you, it's like a general life examples. Suppose, let me comes to when you push of a box lying on the floor with a small amount of force. So let me imagine here, you can observe here, it is a very big box which is lying on the ground. It is lying on the ground. So it is very big box. Now see, what is going to happen? If one person or two person, they are trying to push this box. Understanding? So with a small amount of force. So what is going to happen? Is it possible to create a motion in this box? Is it possible to shift this box to from here to here? No, it is not possible because it does not move at all, because the surface of floor on which the box is resting. Understanding? And exerts some force on the box which act in a direction opposite to the force of our push. So I am trying to push. Suppose let me imagine I am trying to push this box with a less force. So this is called as push. Understanding? Now with my less force, understanding, I am trying to push with my less energy. So I am the less amount of force. I am trying to push this box, but it is not moving. It does not move at all, because here something is happening. Because see, the bottom surface of this box and the contact upper surface of the earth, they are in contact. Both are contact in each other. So what is going to happen? So this earth exerting some force on the box which acting in opposite direction to our push. Understand? So this is only called as, we used to call as friction. We used to call as friction. So some force is acting on bottom of a stationary box which opposes its motion. Understanding? So due to which the box does not move. The box does not move. Understanding? Now, when this box will move from here to here, if we'll overcome this frictional force, means if you'll apply the more amount of force which will overcross this, understanding, then we can create a motion in this box. If not, it will never, because here frictional force is dominating. So it is not called as a frictional force. Some external force is acting on this box by the ground in the opposite direction to our push. That is only called as, we are giving a name for that force, that is only called as friction. So with a little amount of force, means push, we cannot move, create a movement in this box, because here in this case the opposite force which is acting by the ground is dominating this force. So that is why we cannot move with a less amount of force. Means heavy objects cannot move with a less amount of force. So if you want to move means what we can say, a large amount of like a big boxes, you have to create a large amount of force. You have to apply a big amount of force, then only that force can overcross this friction, then we can create a motion in this box. Understanding? So a natural force between floor and the bottom of the box which opposes the motion of a box on the floor is friction. Are you able to understand? So it is a natural force. It is not created by someone. See, this push means we are applying the force. So it is not a natural force. So this natural force, the friction, so natural, it is a natural force in between whom? In between the ground and the bottom of the box. In between the ground and the bottom of the box, which opposes the motion of a box on the where? On the floor. On the floor is called as frictional force. Understand? So let us take another example. Suppose you can see that. Let me imagine that a ball is rolling on a ground. If you'll imagine that, suppose, let me imagine this is a ground. Now here a ball is rolling. So after you can see that, suppose a ball is rolling continuously now, what is going to happen? A ball continuously moving. Later it will comes to this position. Later it will comes to this position. So after few minutes or few seconds, if you'll observe that a ball moving on the ground slows down gradually. Is it correct or not? So initially, when the ball is hit by a batsman, it will be moving very fastly. But the time goes on increasing. What is going to happen? The speed of the ball is slow down. Means it will comes to gradually it is decreasing. And finally, even though if you are not stopping the ball, after covering some distance, what is going to happen? It will comes to rust. Is it correct or not? See here, we are not applying any kind of force. Understanding? I am throwing the ball with some amount of force, but initially it is moving very fastly, but gradually when the time goes on increasing, it is coming to rust. Means speed of the ball is slowly coming to rust. So after certain distance, what is going to happen? Surely it will comes to rust. Is it correct or not? Suppose if I will throw the ball, if it will never comes to rust, what is going to happen? Continuously it will be in movement. Means you will never again get the ball back. So same thing is happening. So here, see, even though we are not applying any external force, the ball is comes to rust after traveling some distance. So here, what is going to happen? We know that a force is required to stop a moving ball. So if you want to catch the ball, or if you want to take the ball, a moving ball, what is going to happen? Either you have to keep your hand or your leg. Something you need to oppose some kind of external force to stop the ball. But here we are not at all stopping the ball. We are not at all applying any kind of artificial force. It's due to the natural force, that is called as what? Frictional force. Due to by whom? Due to by ground on this ball, which is comes to rust after traveling a certain distance. Understand? So the force which opposes the motion of a ball on the ground is also called as what? Is also called as friction. Understanding? So now we can define from these two examples, we can define. So in the case of first one is what? In the case of a big box. So if you want to create a movement, if you want to move this box from one place to another place, what is going to happen? Here, a ground and the bottom of the box, they are in contact each other. Understanding? So when the two bodies are contact each other, definitely some force is acting in between them. That force is called as frictional force. Now, if you want to move this box from one position to another position, so you have to apply the more amount of force. How much it is? It must be greater than frictional forces. Greater than frictional forces. Then only we can move this box from one position to another position. So that is the reason with the less amount of force, we cannot move, we cannot lift or we cannot move a large boxes. Understand? It means who is having more mass. Understand? Here I am saying that mass and force. So in the case of weight, mass is same. So in the sense of weight means force, both are same. That we will study later of this chapter. Okay. So now from these two examples, one is moving box and another one is rolling ball. Understanding? So from these two examples, we can define the force. We can make a definition for the force. That is, the force means the friction means the force which always opposes the motion of one object. You just note down the force, some kind of force. What is that force? The force is called as frictional forces. That is only the called as definition. So the force which always, so what is going to happen here? Always it is stopping the movement. Is it correct or not? So in this case also, it is trying to bring the ball rust after traveling some distance. In this case also, it is not allowing the box to move forward. So in both cases, what is going to happen? The force, some force, what it is going to do? It is going to stop the movement of a body. Understand? So that is only called as friction. So the force which always opposes the motion of one object over another object. Understanding? The force which always opposes the understanding motion of one object understanding over another object understanding when they are in contact with it. You remember here contact is compulsory. When if the frictional force is acting in between two bodies, means they are contact to each other. If not, it is not. You remember. So when the one object over another object in contact with it, then it is called as friction. Understand? So friction occurs between two surfaces which are in contact with each other. So this is the most condition for the frictional force is what? The two bodies must be contact with each other, then only it is going to happen. Then only we can say that the frictional force is acting in between the two bodies. So the force which always opposes the motion of one object over another object in contact with it is called as friction. So the friction occurs between the two surfaces which are in contact with each other. Contact with each other. Understanding? So this is the most important thing. So for example, if we take, when we push a heavy, understanding, heavy box, which we already studied the example, heavy box kept on floor. You just imagine heavy box, again I am drawing that. Heavy box I have kept in a floor. So this is, imagine this is floor. So now see, this is the bottom of the box. So both are in what? They are in contact to each other. So this is the ground. Understanding? So now both are in contact to each other. So when we push a heavy box kept on floor, the force of friction occurs between the surface of floor and the bottom of the box. So the friction is occurs in between this ground and the bottom of the box, because both are in contact each other. Understand? So what is going to happen? And in the case of ball rolling on the ground, if you imagine ball rolling on the ground, so here also if you observe, always the bottom surface of the ball, understand? See here the bottom surface of the ball is not fixed, but in this case it is fixed. But here it is looking like a circular object, a spherical shape. So always it is bottom surface of the ball will be changing. But something definitely it will be in always contact. Okay. So a rolling ball on the ground, the frictional, understanding, the friction occurs between the surface of ground and the surface of ball. Surface of ball and this is what? Surface of ground. So always there also frictional force is occurring. So in fact we know that a friction acts on both the surfaces in contact with each other. Understand? So this friction force is acting on the both the surfaces, means the surface of the box, bottom surface of the box, and the surface of the floor, like here surface of the ball and the surface of the ground. So this friction is acting on the both the surfaces which in contact with each other. So friction is a force which occurs when the two objects tend to slide over each other, and even when they are actually sliding over each other. Are you able to understand what I am saying? Friction is a force which occurs when two objects tends to slide over each other. Means, let me imagine in this case, this is my hand is, let me imagine this is the floor and now this is the box. Now in this case, the box is moving like this. At least if the box is in contact, definitely some frictional forces, some force is acting in between these two surfaces. Understand? This is bottom surface of box and this is the ground floor. So now some force is present in between these two surfaces, that is only called as friction. Now what I'm saying, when a friction is a force which occurs when the two objects tend to slide over each other, means one object is moving, sliding over another object, then also this friction is occurs even when they are actually sliding, means moving over each other also. Means two objects, like suppose if you take a gear system, gears, we know that what is going to happen, one gear, a small gear, it is having a gap, like this it will be gearing system. So you can see that machineries, we can see that one gear system will be like that. This is, let me imagine, one wheel, and another wheel will come which is having some other kind of gears, so which is rotating like this continuously. Is it correct or not? So if this, see here, both wheels are rotating, means they are sliding, moving over each other. In this case also, in between these two, a frictional force is acting. Understand? Either one body here, see, floor is in constant, but box or ball is moving. So in this case also, frictional force acting on both the surfaces, even when they are actually sliding over each other. Over each other means one on another, also sliding also, then also the frictional force is acting. Understand? So are you able to clear? So here this is only called as friction. So from this I can say that whatever the force which always opposes the motion of one object over another object, when they are in contact with each other, then it is called as friction. Understand? So friction occurs always between two surfaces which they are in contact with each other. This is only called as friction. Understand? So here always, sir, you are using always what is force, you are using continuously what is force. So force means, just imagine, I'm defining the definition for force also. If you know already, it's not a problem. But I'm saying you once again. A force means, suppose, see something I am applying, I am trying to erase this one. Is it cut or not? So if I will keep the duster here, it is not automatically erased. Something I am applying, is it cut or not? So something I am applying, if you'll observe here, if I'll something I will do, this board will go back, and if I leave it coming up, cut or not? So what is going to happen? Something will be changing, movement is taking place, cut or not? So here if I am hitting, sound is coming, is it cut or not? So force means, I can say that, suppose this box is here, or sorry, this marker is here. Now what I'm taking? I'm taking. So here what is going to happen? The box, I'm taking the marker with the help of some kind of activity. This is only called as force. So force means the push or pull of an object. Either if you push the object or if you pull the object, any object, then it is called as force. So in this case, see, I am now pushing the object. So this is also called as force. I am now pulling the object. This is also called as force. So if you do the push or pull over the object, any object, then it is called as force. So due to this force, a few kind of changes will occur in body, majorly, understanding. So with the apply of force, we can create a movement in a body. Means the body which is in rest can start moving, and the body which is in moving, we can bring it back to rest by applying the force. Understanding? Suppose when the ball is means moving, then we can applying some force with our hands, we can bring the ball to rest. Understand? Like that, when the box is in stationary, applying some force, we can create a movement. Understand? So like that, suppose now this duster is there, this duster. Now I'm applying some force. What is going to happen? The shape of the object is changes. Correct or not? Now, so from this I can say that a force can change the shape of the object, and also you can see that size. Now this is, now it is having a big size. Now it will comes to, it is having a small size. So force can change shape and size of the object. Understand? So what is the first point? Force can create a movement in a resting the body which is in rest, and also a force can bring the body which is in motion. It will brings to rest. Rest body into motion and moving body into rest. Like that, the force can change the shape and size of the object. Like that, one more thing is present. Suppose the ball is rolling now. Suppose, let me imagine the football is rolling now. Now, if I will kick, understand, if I will kick this ball with my foot, what is going to happen? Then the speed of the ball is increases or decreases? Definitely it will increases. So the force can increase the moving body, increase the speed of a moving body. Like that, suppose the ball is moving very fastly. Now if I will keep some kind of stones or something, then what is going to happen? Something is moving very fastly. Then suppose even vehicles are when we are in inclined surfaces, we will keep the stones below the tires. Is it correct or not? Because motion, we need to control the motion. So when we can increase the speed of a moving body, or like that, we can reduce the speed of a moving body. So these all are the factors of force, which are the effects of force, not factors, effects of force. So what is force? Force is a push or pull of the object. So due to this force, we can create a movement in a body which is in rest, or else we can bring a body to rest which is in motion. Like that, we can change the shape and size of the object. So now, one kind of force which is present in between the two surfaces when they are in contact each other, that is only called as friction. That is only our chapter. Now we will study what is the direction of this friction always. Understanding? Is it the direction is always in this direction? Suppose now I am applying the force in this direction. Some kind of, I am trying to push this body like this. Understanding? So what is going to happen? Now the frictional force is acting opposite direction. That is why that is what I am saying, because always some kind of force which is opposing the motion of this box, that is only called as friction. I am saying. So now what is the direction of force? Suppose some other direction I am applying the force, then what is the direction of friction? So that is only our next concept, that is a direction of force of friction. What is the direction of force of the friction? You just keep the heading that. What is our next concept? Direction of force of friction. Direction of force of friction. Direction of force of friction. So here if you see that the force of friction always opposes the motion of one object over another object. That we know the definition. So the force of friction acts in a direction opposite to the direction in which an object moves or tends to move. Understanding? So we know that what is the friction? The force of friction is always opposes the motion of one object over another object. Suppose now let me imagine one object. If the object is moving like this, understanding? So the movement of the object is in this direction. So opposing force must be acting in which direction? Must be acting on in this direction. So then only that movement will be controlled. Like that, suppose the object is moving in this direction, then what is going to happen? The opposing force must be acting in this direction. Understand? So then only we can it will oppose the motion of the object. So the force of friction acts in a direction opposite to the direction in which the object moves. Means if the object moves forward direction, in this direction, suppose, then the frictional force, the force of friction is acting in backward direction. Understanding? So in this case, this is backward. Now the object is start moving in this direction, then the frictional force is acting in this direction. Understanding? So always you have to remember here, you don't remember the arrows here. Understanding? So you have to remember that always the frictional force is acting opposite to the direction in which an object moves or tends to move. Tends to move. Understand? So this will even it will be more clear if you will do some activity, then it will be even more clear. So let me take for example, let me do this activity. You can understand clearly. Suppose place a book on the table. Understand? So let me imagine that this is my book. So I'm taking the two surfaces now. This is one surface and this is another surface. Understand? So now I have kept a big book here, some kind of book, you just imagine. Understand? So this is a book which I have kept. So here, same equal size of books I have kept here. Now what is going to happen? So let me imagine that. Place a book on the table. I have kept it book on the table. Understanding? I have kept a book on the table. Now give a push to this book towards the right side. Understanding? So I'm right side means this in this direction. So I'm trying to push. I'm trying to push with my finger. So what is going to happen? Movement of this box. I pushed it and I left it. So what is going to happen? Book will travel some distance and it automatically will comes to rest. So if I will give a push to this book towards to the right side, understanding? So we will find that the book moves through some distance to the right side. If I will push in this direction, the book also will move in this direction, but it will never be continuously in motion. It will move some distance, and after that what is going to happen? And then it will stops. But in which direction it will move? It will move to right side. Right side. So after traveling some distance, it will stop. Means it will comes to rest. Now, since the book moves towards right side and stops on its own, this means what? That the force of friction is acting on it in the opposite direction. Opposite direction. So that is only called as friction. Friction of force of friction. Understand? If not, the book will continuously in motion. Understand? It is comes to rest after traveling some distance and it is stopping. So who is stopping? That frictional force, which is acting opposite direction. Understanding? So now let me imagine the same case. The force of friction is acting on the opposite direction. Towards to which direction it is? Left direction. Understand? Left. So which is opposing its motion and making it stop. Making it stop. Now, when the force is applied by our push to move the book towards the right side, what is going to happen? Then the force of friction acting towards to left side in opposite direction to motion of book. The motion of book is in this direction. The force of friction is acting in this direction. Now let me imagine this is figure 1. Now let me come to figure 2. Now let us now give a push to the book towards the left side. Now means I'm giving us in the both cases I'm giving a push only. Understand? Here also push and here also push. Now in this case push is towards to right side, and in this case now push is towards to left side. So now what is going to happen? The force of friction always acting in a direction opposite to the direction of motion of the object. That we know that. Now let us take in the second case. So now let us now give a push to the book towards the left side. Understanding means this side, left side. This is only called as left side. I am giving the push towards to the left side. So what is going to happen? When the motion of the book is also moves in the left direction. Understanding? So we will find that books move some distance towards to left side, and then it will stops. Correct or not? Yes. So since the book moving towards to left side stops on its own, what is the meaning of that? This means that the force of friction is acting on it in the opposite direction. Opposite direction means what? Now it is towards to left side. So means opposite direction means what? This is the opposite direction. That is only called as towards to right. Understanding? This is only called as towards to right. So which is opposing its motion and making it stop. Understanding? So thus we can say that when the force is applied by our push to move the book towards to left side, understanding, so then the force of friction acts towards to the right side, means in opposite direction to the motion of book, in opposite direction to the motion of book. So in this activity you can say that we observe that when the motion of the book is towards to the right side, then the force of friction acting it towards to the left side. Understanding? Now, and when the motion of book is towards to the left side, the force of friction acting on it towards to the right side. So from this activity we can conclude that the force of friction acting in a direction opposite to the direction of motion of an object. This is the most important one. Always the force of friction acting, if the push is acting in this direction, motion is in this direction, means frictional force is in opposite direction. Always they are opposite to each other. So one is a movement of the body is in this direction, means frictional force is in this direction. Suppose now movement is in this direction, means frictional force is in this direction. So always they are opposite direction of motion of an object. So this is why the force of friction always opposes the motion of an object. Understanding? So in this both cases which we have described here in this activity, the force of friction opposes the motion of a book on the surface of the table. Opposes the motion of a book on the surface of the table. So this force of friction occurs between where? Between the surface of table and the surface of book in touch with each other, means they are contact with each other. Understanding? So in this all examples we have applied the force of a push of our hand to move a book lying on a horizontal tabletop, means here table is in horizontally, so we have to create a push to move this object. Correct or not? Yes. Now suppose the book can also be moved without any kind of external force, means by any kind of push. Understanding? By the force of gravity of earth, provided the table is tilted a little. Understand? So here in this case, next case you will see here. So what is going to happen? In this case we no need to we no need to push the object. You just what is going to happen? You tilt the table, means with a certain angle. Now it is in what? It is not in vertically and it is not in even horizontally. So it is in some angle. Is it correct or not? Now what is going to happen? I have kept some book here. This is what? I have kept some book here. So what is going to happen? Now table initially it is in horizontally. Now I have tilted, understanding, I have tilted, understanding, tilted table. So in this case, what is going to happen? So in this case, what is going to happen? So if you tilt the table somewhat, then the book kept on it, it will start sliding down. Is it correct or not? Automatically it will comes and it will fall here. So it will start sliding down slowly. So in this case, here we are not applying any kind of force. Here, the force of gravity is acting in the always downward direction. So we know that always the gravity is trying to pull the object towards to its means downward direction. So due to this inclined tilting surface, tilting table, so this earth is apply some force, means it is trying to pull this book towards to its, understanding. So that is only called as the force of gravity, which is acting in the downward direction. Downward direction. So since the book is moving in the downward direction, what is going to happen? The force of friction must acting in the opposite direction. That is what? Upward direction. Upward direction. Suppose now, if you will increase the angle more, if you are trying to lift the tilt the table more and more and more, what is going to happen? This book will fall towards the earth. But if you just incline something slowly, then what is going to happen? This book will move some distance. After again, it will stop. Means in this case, both forces are balancing. That is why it is not falling towards the earth and it is not coming to backward. Suppose if you will apply the more angle, if you lift like this, what is going to happen? Then the frictional force is less. So by the time the gravitational force is dominating the frictional force, so this book will move and will fall very fastly. Understanding? So even if you want, you can do this activity in our home also. Understand? If you tilt something, then book will start sliding something. Understanding? So suppose normally it is horizontal surface. Now a little bit if you lift, so book will start travel some distance and it will stop there. Again it will little bit. Again it will travel some distance, it will stop. Like that, if you incline more, then what is going to happen? Almost like a vertically, book will fall down, fall towards to the ground. Means in this case, the gravitational force is dominating it. So here we are not applying any kind of push or pull of an object. It is due to the gravity of the force, it is falling downwards because of tilted table. Understanding? So this is about a friction and the brief introduction about the friction. And with this, I'm going to end this today's class. And the next class, we are going to study what are the causes of this friction. See, we need to know the reason why. We have studied what is the friction and this how it will be existed and all we have studied. Now we need to know why it is happening. What is the reason behind the cause? Cause means the reason behind the friction. That we will study in the next class. With this, I'm going to end this today's session. Thank you.